The Ripstik, or the scientific name, a Casterboard, is a hybrid between a skateboard and my worst nightmare. Paired with a nice long board, a bar in the middle, and 2 free spinning wheels, the Ripstik is ideal for anyone who wants to get injured as fast as possible. The best part about the Ripstik is that there's no good way to stop, no easy tricks to learn, and no way to look cool while riding one. Somehow, a Ripstik is both edgier and dweebier than a skateboard, but growing up in the early 2000s, it felt like everyone had one of these things. The thing is, I don't even remember seeing my first Ripstik. It's like one day they didn't exist, and then that night, a portal to the 18th dimension opened up and filled every suburban house with one of these things. Now, everyone I knew loved the Ripstik for about 2 weekends, and then we all realized collectively that it was somehow more dangerous, more confusing, and more boring than a skateboard. Welcome back to the Boardroom, a show where we dive into the weirder side of skateboarding. Now let's get ripping and sticking. Okay, so the Ripstik didn't really just appear out of nowhere. It actually kind of has a pretty nutty history. If you're unfamiliar with the concept of a Casterboard, the essential setup is that they just took the front wheels off a shopping cart and threw them on a skateboard deck. The free-forming wheels and the bar in the middle allow the rider to just simply twist their body back and forth to get the board rolling. No pushing required. Using your feet to push your board is so 1993. It's hard to tell who had the original idea for a Casterboard because, believe it or not, the person that invented it didn't get a Nobel Peace Prize. I know, shocking. The earliest record that I could find was for a similar product called a
blade board,
which came out in 2004. Why don't we ever say like 2004 or 2007? Because we say 2023. I'm gonna start doing that. In the good old year of 2007, everyone had a Ripstik, but Ripstik is part of the Razor brand, not the name of the actual skating device. This freewheeling skating device actually had several names because a bunch of different companies wanted to shoot their own shot at trying to injure kids as fast as possible. Now, all these names are equally weird, but some of my favorites are the Freeboard and the S-Board. Not really sure what the S stands for in S-Board. It kind of just sounds like some older dude was trying to fit in with the kiddos and came up with a cool nickname for skateboards, only to realize that S-Board and skateboard have the same amount of syllables, so it really didn't make a difference. Now, all these different types of Casterboards were made by small manufacturers, but nothing was really being sold in the mainstream market. But in 2007, Razor, you know, the company that's famous for making scooters a common household item, decided that they needed their next big product. Now, at this point, the Razor scooter was already 7 years old, and kids had mastered tail whips and hitting their shins, and they were begging for a new product to get hurt on. So our boy Razor essentially just steals the idea for a Casterboard, throws a 2007 filter on it, and then we have the Razor Ripstik that we all know and love today. But I want to talk about the marketing for a second, because how do you get the Ripstik from the manufacturer to the edgy kid of 2007? Through ads on Nickelodeon, ya dingus. Oh, fair warning though, before we watch this commercial, there is a bunch of flashes at the beginning for some reason. So if you are sensitive to that kind of thing, skip to this time code. It's wild that I have to give a trigger warning on an ad for Ripstik.
You thought surfing and snowboarding were cool? Now you can carve up the concrete. Introducing the all-new Ripstik. It's like nothing you've ever ridden. With only 2 wheels and a killer flexing motion, you just twist and go. Ripstik is the ultimate carving machine. So lay down some turns, carve the bowls, or even do grinds. The Ripstik, the ultimate carving machine.
Okay, so the first thing I want to say is, doing a kickflip on a Ripstik is actually insane. Like, honestly, that dude should have been Skater of the Year in 2007. Also, Razor was obsessed with marketing this thing as a carving device, but I have never once seen one of these bad boys at a skate park. Probably because you would get bullied. And look, I personally don't have anything against people wanting to bring their Ripstik to a skate park. I just also think those people shouldn't be allowed to vote. But for whatever reason, this marketing worked, and before you knew it, everyone on the block had a Ripstik. My family was no different than yours. We put our hats on before our socks just like the next family. So of course our family got a Ripstik. Now we were already cool extreme sports kids, so we were hyped to have another thing to ride around on. The first memory I have with the Ripstik is stepping on it and going down my driveway, which was a pretty steep driveway if I do say so myself, not trying to brag or anything. And as I approached the end of the driveway going top speeds, I realized, how do I stop on this thing? And that's something that the salespeople aren't telling the parents when they're picking out the Ripstik for their little Johnny. Ain't got no brakes, dog. And to be honest, that's my biggest complaint with the Ripstik. At the end of the day, it's a fun time. But how do I stop? Now, on my cul-de-sac, the best practice to stop was to do little circles until you lost all your speed. And then you could just jump off. But that was best practice. What usually happened is I was going top speeds and would just have to plow into the neighbor's yard and hope to God I didn't die. Either way, it's not in Watch Mojo's top 5 best ways to stop on a moving device. The neighbor kids and I took turns riding around on the Ripstik for a few weeks, but it quickly just became another thing we threw in the garage and collected dust. Right there next to my hopes and dreams. Today, Ripstiks are a lot less common than they used to be, but they are still around and kicking and can be found at your local Target or Walmart. There's also a whole bunch of Casterboards and alternative skateboards out there in the market too. Today, the most popular alternative skateboard is probably the one wheel, which can look just as confusing as the Ripstik, but slightly cooler. I don't know, maybe this is just the boomer in me, but nothing can beat a classic skateboard or cruiser. But I'm also edgy light. So what do you want from me, dog? In 2017, in the height of hoverboards, Razer decided to give the Ripstik an upgrade. They said, hey, this device is already scary and hard to control. Let's put a battery and a motor on it. It was recalled because of 700 injury reports. The regular old Ripstik is still alive and kicking, and though I don't think it's as popular as it once was, it's still nice to know that it's out there just waiting to hurt its next victim.